some extent, every single human being on earth feels anxiety. You are not alone. Like even the psychologists talking about how to escape anxiety, even the hyper-masculine characters like Tate and your Hollywood superstars, they all feel at least a bit of anxiety in some situations. You cannot escape it through the top 3 ways of escaping anxiety quickly and just wake up tomorrow and be free from it. This process takes months, years, because its roots date years back probably. But you can start seeing results quicker, like you can actually start seeing quantifiable and serious results in weeks, but you won't be able to escape it completely so quickly. Now, the issue with anxiety is that our minds are framed wrong. If you have anxiety, there was a moment in your past when you drew a wrong conclusion. You experienced some event that you didn't like, right? It felt unpleasant. And you just drew a wrong conclusion. And from that point, there was a snowball effect. Like, you started viewing every single situation to justify that opinion that you formed back then. Think about this. A 4-year-old made the decision for you to become anxious. It was just a mistake. You developed anxiety by accident. It's something completely inauthentic to you. Because, look, there is a very interesting study about the expectation effect. This is, I don't even know how to say it, and maybe related, a cousin to the placebo effect. And the idea is that whatever you expect to happen will happen to some extent. And the research, I believe, was about food and how the body digests the food. Now, of course, I'm sure there is some logical explanation to this because it's not so woo-woo. But the idea was that people expecting to gain weight after eating junk food, they gain more weight than people expecting to not gain weight or just viewing junk food as a normal meal. Thinking about how we perceive the world, like we know we have a bias, right? We know everyone is biased and every single one of us views the world differently from our biased lenses. And you could say that it's very plausible that this expectation effect can occur and did occur in our past. This expectation effect is the cornerstone of you developing anxiety, of the way that snowball effect kept going for years and years and years. And you just gathered data to justify the opinion formed by a 4-year-old. It's unfair. The expectation effect is very powerful. Like, think about it. There are certainly people with a life situation very similar to yours that have a very different perception of the world right now because they didn't expect for that thing to happen. Their biased lenses had a different bias than your lenses. And they are confident. They had the same experiences as you, but they are confident just because they perceive them differently. So how do we escape this? Well, what's the goal? The goal is to be free socially, right? To be able to engage in conversations genuinely and to feel no drawbacks. Developing anxiety was a mistake, right? And it broke the rules. It was pretty unfair. So let's stop fire with fire and let's break the rules in our advantage now. And what I mean by this is let's use intentional brainwashing in order to change. What's intentional brainwashing is consuming content and allowing other people to brainwash you into believing that you are something you are not, essentially. This is the harsh way of saying it, but consuming content of people talking about these concepts of escaping the social anxiety, of research, studies, all that stuff. And that can be books, podcasts, YouTube videos, tweets, whatever you like. And then also combining it with consuming content of people proving confidence, which it can be even movies, right? Like Netflix shows. In the self-improvement niche, people always disregard like watching movies. They always say like it's so bad, but I don't believe watching long-form content in a mindful way is bad. So you can really pick a character that you look up to who's very confident in a healthy way, right? You don't want to become a jerk. And also YouTube videos, social experiments, if you will. After consuming enough of this content, you will become more like the persons whose content you consume, because you are the average of the 5 people whose content you consume the most. You know that saying that you're the average of the 5 people you spend time with, but since everything is online nowadays and we consume a lot of content, we could migrate this towards the online space as well. And you might say that's inauthentic to you because you've always been an introvert and, becoming as someone you're not is not okay, but if you always had this curse of social anxiety upon you, like, can you really say that you are 100% certain that you're an introvert? Or maybe you were just held back by this for such a long time that you don't even see the possibility of reality being different actually. Because if you have these constraints, if you are locked up in a cage, you didn't ever step outside that cage to see how you would behave in that environment, right? In that life situation. And again, you might argue that it's not okay to change your identity intentionally like that, to just copy someone else. But this is the fastest way because you have to change your identity, you have to change your self image first. You are so attached to who you are right now, you are so certain that this is who you authentically are. But if you broke out of this inauthentic social anxiety shell, you might even change your personality completely. And that might actually be your authentic personality that you didn't even know existed before. So you could literally, if you're serious about this, go ahead and do the MBTI test. I will link it in the description. This is a very mainstream and accurate personality test. It's completely free. You just have to answer some questions, and they are giving you a 4-letter label of and a bunch of information about your personality type. Now, if you are serious about the process of changing yourself and escaping the social anxiety shell, if you do this half a year from now again, you will see that it's probably, like, most likely changed. And that's more likely to be your authentic shell. If you identify with the message I put out there and you want to hear more from me, I have a Calendly link where you could book a meeting with me and I will listen to your story and hopefully be able to give you useful advice. So it's in the description, go ahead if you like.